This is verse 31 of the 6th chapter of the Gospel of John. Jesus is having a conversation with the crowds who had enjoyed the miracle of the feeding of the 5,000 the day earlier, but he has accused them of not seeing the true value, the true significance of that miracle, namely what John calls the sign value of it. And so now, as they come and are challenging Jesus to do this miracle again, in a sense, he says to them that they need to believe. So they put the question to him, what works do we need to do in order that we might fully appreciate, apparently, this sign that you're speaking of? And Jesus gives a rather surprising answer, that they need to believe. The work of God about which they're inquiring is that they believe in the one whom he sent, that is, in Christ himself. Well, of course, at this point, this is an amazing claim, of course, that Jesus is making, and even though he's performed a miracle, they're not necessarily convinced that that's adequate for them to rest their faith in him as he is requiring. And so they ask him the question concerning what work does he do that is going to warrant that kind of belief in him. What sign is he going to produce for them? Obviously, the feeding of the 5,000 the previous day wasn't cutting it for them, and they are asking for something more, something greater. They ask for that, and they continue in this vein, in this continuing verse here, verse 31, hoi, the nominative plural masculine article, the pateres, the fathers, pater, father, hemon, of us, the fathers of us, to, neuter, article, mana, of course taken over from the previous language, the manna, ephagon. Ephagon is the third person plural, aorist active indicative of phago or phagomai, I eat. So our fathers ate the manna in, preposition takes the dative, te, the dative article, the eremo, in the wilderness. Our fathers ate the manna in the wilderness. Kathos, adverb, just as. Esten, from eimi, I am. This is third person singular, present active indicative, just as it is. Gegramenon, from grapho, I write. This is the perfect passive participle, nominative, singular, neuter. So just as it stands written, and then of course they quote the Old Testament text in which we hear of this, arton, bread, ek tu orenu, out of the heaven, edeken, this is from didomi, I give, this is the third person singular, aorist active indicative, edoken, he gave to them, autois, to them, dative, pronoun, plural, phagain, this is the aorist active infinitive, gave them to eat. So they quote the Old Testament, bread out of heaven he gave to them to eat, and thus this was a great sign. And the sign, of course, is now being compared to the sign that Jesus has performed. He fed them one time, and maybe what they're hinting at is that they want Jesus to provide perpetual food for them, the way that Moses apparently did for 40 years as they were there in the wilderness, and that thereby Moses, of course, established himself as a great prophet who stands in a unique status, and that Jesus hasn't quite reached that level, so he needs to do something on the same order. That appears to be the significance of this statement, in response to Jesus having said to them that they hadn't recognized the sign value of what he had done. So they're pushing him here a little bit, and of course the claim that Jesus makes that they need to simply believe in him is being challenged by this response, and from that Jesus will launch into a further discussion of what is required for the person of true faith.